Hey everyone. So we're going to go over the first project for this course. So this is going to be a 3D modeling project with you guys picking out a prop of some complexity more than what you have done in the Intro to 3D class. And this particular prop can be whatever you want to choose, um, but it does need to be something that has buttons or parts that fit together or interact with each other. So props that seem to be pretty popular with students in the past have been things like Nintendo Switch controllers or video game controllers, since most of you guys kind of already have that on hand. I will say that the video game controllers can be a little bit deceptively easy looking, but hard to pull off because they're pretty um, not really not really complex organic shapes, but sometimes those curves on the Xbox controller can be a little bit hard to visualize. So just a heads up. Doesn't mean I haven't seen successful ones, but certainly it can be a little bit more to bite off, especially since we're going to be only doing this for a few days. Um, I would probably suggest picking something that is going to be complex but obtainable at the same time. Things that are as simple as say like pencils or pocket knives, things like that, I probably would not do. Um, but it needs to be pieces that have like not intersecting, but interacting parts. So like for example, these buttons here, this little Joy-Con switch or uh, thumbstick, whatever it is. All of those kind of like fit together. There's a slide rail on the inside of the switch that I think is actually pretty good as well. So that's what I'm going to go after and model. In the past, I have done a locking, I guess like a vice grip type of pliers that are pretty good as well. Now, for you guys, you will need to take reference photos of your prop because we will be putting it into Maya, okay? So you have to make sure you take good photos of these. Now, what does that mean? So for me, I always try to take photos as parallel to the object as I can so I can flatten it. So this one I put the pliers on like a light box and took photos straight down. There is going to be some perspective shift, but with that, but we can adjust for that and we can just kind of ignore that as we model this. But you want to try to get good detailed shots of your pieces. You want to get various different angles, make sure you're not missing anything. And you really want this to be an object that you can hold, you have access to. So I would not suggest something that you don't actually own um, or have access to for this entire project because there's going to be details on it that you're going to notice um, when you're actually holding it and looking at it. One of the things that for whatever reason I never really noticed, and I've had this set of pliers for 20 years at this point, was that there's a pair of wire cutters right here. I did not notice that until a couple of years ago. For whatever reason, I've always used a pair of pliers, but they apparently had a set of wire cutters built in. So details like that are kind of things that you notice when you actually own the object and you can sit there and look at it and hold it and get a better understanding of it. In terms of what we're going to be doing for separating out parts, my mantra is to separate out parts of an object as if they were real objects or real existing in the world. So this set of pliers here, the way that these move is there's a pin here, here, and here. There's one here and also up in here. And so these all join the various pieces of the pliers together. This handle here is a plastic with a foam rubber coating. So that'd be a separate piece as well. There's a spring that goes into here, and there's a screw that goes into the back. And so I separate these all out um, for a couple of reasons. One is to make modeling of the object a little bit easier, so I'm not running edge loops all over the model continuously. Makes topology management a whole lot simpler for me to work with. So that's one reason. Two is it makes UV unwrapping a whole lot simpler for me as well, because again, I don't have all that topology running all over the model. And then three, I can also do material management a lot easier as well, because I can separate out things such as the yellow plastic, the blue foam rubber, the metal here into multiple parts that I can just drop on materials on them, and it just makes it simpler for me in the long run. And then four, if I want to animate the object, then I have moving parts that I can actually rotate and rig or animate together versus one static piece that's all one mesh. So I will be grading you guys on your separation of your object. If you turn in something that's all one piece and it couldn't possibly be animated, that will affect your grade. If it's all one piece and I couldn't, UV it or use it in the way that it's intended, again, that'll also affect your grade. So make sure you're separating these pieces out. Think critically about how you're putting this together and how it moves. And I think you'll end up saving yourselves a lot of angst, a lot of stress on this modeling project. This is going to be looked at as an advancement of what you learned in Intro to 3D. So I'm aware of what you guys make in Intro to 3D. And so in there, it's a lot of just kind of like shoving um, meshes into each other. There's not a lot of separating of parts. So we're not going to be doing that. We're going to be modeling our objects to have them smoothed, but we're going to be modeling them to look smooth without ever actually hitting 3 on the keyboard to smooth it. So we're going to be putting in a lot of reinforcement edge loops, a lot of beveling. We're going to be not depending on or hoping that smoothing an object will attain the shape we want. We're going to be modeling them to look precisely how we want them to look. And that's going to be the difference between a beginner modeler and a intermediate modeler. Okay. So let's go ahead and get our project folder set up, or our scene file set up. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and make a new project folder. So I'm going to go to File, and let's go to Project Window, New. I'm going to call it 3D Prop. And then I'm going to locate it somewhere where I put whatever you put your projects. I heavily suggest that you guys do not put these on your laptop drives. I would suggest you get a external hard drive or something that I wouldn't even say a thumb drive at this point, because thumb drives, I've had so many of them break on me and students have had issues with them. I would suggest you put it somewhere like an external hard drive. So as you're working, if something happens to your computer, you still have your work. And also, I probably would suggest putting it on like your OneDrive as well, you with being a school member or student. So if anything happens to your computer, um, again, you don't lose anything. So let's stick this. I remember where my OneDrive is. There it is. Class folders, 24. Click accept. And that is going to create a folder for us. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and grab my prop images. I'm going to specifically, yeah, we'll just do the whole switch. We'll see how far we get with this. I'm going to go and copy them. Go into my project folder, go under source images, and then drop them in there. Okay, so what I'll need to do is go ahead and load in my reference images, and these are going to be orthographically placed. So I'm going to go to my top, front, and side views. So let's do under the top view. I'm going to go to under view, image plane, import image, and see it's going to automatically go to our source images folder. So I'm going to look for, get them focusing on one of these Joy-Cons. So let's look at the Joy-Cons. Okay, I think that's a pretty good picture. I might do just like one of these Joy-Cons. That's a better picture. Okay, so we'll do that one. So that's going to be a top view. And then we'll do a front view. Image point, import image. Don't have a very good front view, but can sub in a back view and use that. And then for my side view, I do have a couple of side images. I'm gonna grab, let's do that one. Okay. All right, so we'll see if we look at our perspective. Everything's kind of intersecting. We don't necessarily want that. So what I want to do is I'm gonna go and take that one, move it back. We'll take my top view, move it down. So I need to clear out my space. So there we go. So I got multiple images, all right? Now in terms of like orientation, not 100% right. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip it up like that. And then this one right here, flip this like this. So they're all kind of orientated the right way. And then in terms of scaling, I'm gonna go ahead and go under poly modeling. I'm gonna grab a block. Okay, so that's gonna be the length of my um, controller. And then I'm gonna jump in here, grab my side view, and I'm gonna need to kind of rotate it to where it's about even. Shrink it down to where it fits. Doesn't have to be exact, it just needs to be kind of close. So somewhere kind of like that. So the apparent size of this one and this one are pretty close. And I'm gonna shrink down the front one as well. It's not really gonna match as well, but it's gonna be something I can use to kind of play around with it. Okay, so there we go. That's our model. I'll turn off my grids. It's fine. I'm kind of distracting. Was that the outliner? Okay. And so what I want to do is I'm just going to take this first cube and it's going to jump in our top view. Let me go under shading. Let's do X-ray so I can see through it. I was just going to start kind of like graphing out or sketching out this shape. Okay. Pick this right here. Pick it out to right about there. I'm gonna do a multi-cut. All right, so I'm using Shift right click, by the way. If you want to do, this gives me the radial menu, and I like this menu. If you want to go under like mesh tools or edit mesh, you can grab all the same tools that I'm using under here and here, okay? Try to make sure I go slow. I'm used to teaching in class, so usually if someone has a question, they can raise their hand, but that's not gonna happen here, is it? If you do have questions, though, obviously you can shoot me an email, and give me whatever question you got. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just now throw in a few edge loops here. One of the things that when I'm modeling, I try not to go overboard with edge loops initially. I will throw in an edge loop and put it where I need it. And then I will continue modeling. I'm not going to throw in like a whole bunch at once and then hope for the best and try to place them. I'll put in a couple, move everything, move my vertexes, and then throw in a few more, and then adjust and readjust and readjust. Okay. So with that, let's throw in, so it says here, I threw that in, adjusted. Now I want to readjust, put in some more. So what I'm trying to do is just like grab that curve, okay? Now, I realize like this image is not perfect. I'm just trying to get it as close as I can. Okay. This is kind of like a gentle kind of curve anyways. Oh, oh, oh. And then bring that up. So I'm just kind of moving each one of these around here. It very much is just tracing. This is, take a look at that side view. A lot of this is going to be me switching from side to side or from one view to another. Do not, under any circumstance, just model the entire thing from one view and then switch over and do it from the other side. That is a really bad way of going about it. You need to constantly be going back and forth from one side to another. If you guys have ever taken like a sculpture class or woodworking class, that's the approach that they'll do. And there's you'll sculpt from the side and then or chisel from the side and go to the other side, and you're just switching it back and forth and eventually just kind of going all over to get that shape. All right, so right there. So right here, this is kind of a little hook, this little like curve underneath here. It might be a little bit tricky. So what I want to do is I want to go and grab this face, shift, double click. So I grab all those faces on the bottom, hit Control E to extrude. You can also do shift, pull down, and that'll also extrude as well. I'm not as big a fan of that because I like having like the little tool sometimes, but if you like that, that is cool. Okay, so I got a little ring in right there. I'm going to take this, cut this through. Shading. Okay. Okay. Look at that. I'm just gonna pull in here. I'm just gonna make like a little bit of a curve right there. So it's a bit of a sharper curve right here. This is what I'm doing here, like a little bit too shallow. We're always going to make sure and try to model with n-gons, trying to make, well, not trying to make sure we eliminate n-gons. N-gons being anything that has more than 3 or 4 sides. Tris being 3 sides. Quads being 4 sides. So we want to make sure we're just avoiding and keeping an eye out for any faces that have extra edges or extra vertexes they don't need, because that's going to make it into an n-gon. N-gons are not great because they tend to smooth really weirdly, and then they're difficult to render or animate with. So we want to try to avoid them as much as possible. Um, Pulling these out a little bit right here. So they kind of like wrap around. Really just kind of looking at this from like different angles, trying to figure out like what's the best angle. And I think that's looking pretty good. So here, I'll pull that. Okay. Okay. So we'll need to do it's a little bit of a rounded top on here as well. So we'll need to adjust and add that in. So we do have a tool that is called the bevel tool, and I'm going to show you kind of like why it is good and why it's kind of bad. One thing well, here's the point. Okay, so if you go to Shift, right click, bevel, it's going to essentially go through and bevel everything that's in here, and it's a cool tool. Um, so we have options for like fraction and segments and depth. But if you're not careful, you're not paying attention, let's say we don't grab this edge, then we go through and do bevel edge. What happens is it will bevel that edge, but if you're not paying attention, you're going to be left with this face right here. Now this is an n-gon. Why is this an n-gon? Well, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 faces, or 6 sides. And so um, So we need to take care of that and essentially get rid of this in some way. We could do a like a multi-cut and then cut from here over to here, and that actually would eliminate that and make it a little bit easier to work with. Over here, and that would actually fix it. Sometimes it can be just that simple. Um, but sometimes you have to be a little bit more creative, and we'll run into ways to fix these things as we uh, go forward in the class and the modeling projects. So actually, looks like there's a little bit more of a curve here. So I'm gonna bring this down. Kind of scale this in a little bit and scale that in just a hair. And what I want to do is kind of add a little bit more reinforcement to this curve. So I'm gonna hold down Control, multi-cut. I'm gonna put in another edge right there. Okay, just gonna scale it out. I'm trying to look, see if I can get like that kind of profile right there. Something kind of like that. And then maybe go in and I can bevel this. This is a continuous base loop or edge loop, so I should be able to get away with that. And right here, I'm going to bevel this one as well. Yeah. All right. So that's not bad, although I'm kind of looking at this right here. This should be more flat. This edge right here, and this one is kind of going at a on-ball angle, so it's kind of grab those vertexes. Looks like we got them all. And I'm going to do a little trick to flatten things. I'm going to go scale and flatten and just kind of bring it in. See that? So it just flattens all of that. Now this is not perfect. So there's still going to be a little bit of a curve, but not nearly as much of one. I'm going to kind of flatten some of this as well. And just kind of tidy up the edge looping like that. Okay, I think that's good. All right, so that's going to be our body for this switch controller. And if we look at the switch controller, we do have, well, we can focus on, let's do, you know what, let's do the rail. I don't usually get to the rail whenever I do this one, so we'll do that. So the rail is going to have two buttons here for the that little cover. Whenever you use the switch controller independently, so let's kind of figure out how we can do this. Right there. Out to right up there. Flat out over there. Take the bottom two vertexes. Bring those up there. And I think this needs to go up just a hair more. Okay. And so we have a couple of indentions here where the buttons are going to sit. But it's fairly simple geometry. We have these basically two little metal bars with a track on the inside for the pieces to slide down. And let's look at the top view. Because basically what I'm doing is I'm tracing that top view. It's pretty thin. Maybe somewhere right about there. If you look at like both of these, you'll see the distance is kind of there. And then, actually, I think I need to pull out this one and this one. Okay. Pull that out just a little bit. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in some multi-cuts. So I'm putting one here and here, and then here and here. And then where it kind of like dips in, you see it's almost like a trapezoid. The negative space is almost like a trapezoid. It has a outer edge here and then a smaller edge here. So I need to kind of go ahead and put in two edges, and I'm basically just going to pull this in. Do the same thing here and here. All right, so you're probably wondering like, well, what the hell is he talking about? All right, so I'm just going to take these two sets of vertices and I'm just going to grab them and I'm just going to move it in. So it's going to mimic that profile right there. That's what I'm mimicking. All right, take these two, move them in. And if you want to, we can make sure these are even, since they would be even. And just scale them together, scale them in, and now they kind of like line up. Okay. We're not done. So let's check our it's on its own little thing. Oh yeah, we got the little button here and then dots as well. So that's going to need to be included. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go and add in, this does kind of curve a bit and it's a little bit, there's not a sharp angle to it. So let's go and put in a multi-cuts here and here. I'll grab this edge and this edge. This edge. This edge. Okay. So let's do a bevel. Throw in some extra segments. Okay. And then we're going to also do the same thing here. I'm going to hit G as in George. It's going to let me redo the last used tool. Add in a few extra segments. I'm not going to add in too many, like that's too much. Don't do that much. Then probably bring in the fraction a little bit. Just going to sharpen up that corner, but it's still going to be a little bit smoother right through there. Okay, so something like that. Okay, so I'm going to grab these pieces here. I'm going to Control E. Just kind of scale them down a little bit. Control E again. And that's just kind of round it off just a hair. And then also bring up, yeah. Sorry, let's go. I'm switching between scale and extrude. Okay, so now see we're adding in what's called reinforcement loops. And so if I hit 3, you'll see that how these reinforcement loops are kind of helping this shape keep its overall shape. But then we also can add in, let's see here, it kind of collapses on the corner. Then we'll add in a reinforcement loop here. So now it actually keeps the shape a little bit better. We'll do the same thing up here. Let's add that in, hit 3. All right, now we're good. Okay. So let's go ahead and focus on, got a little button right here. And that button has an indentation. If you look at it, has like a little, this is because this is, I think, the power button or like a reset button or something. Maybe like it, I don't know, pairing, I don't know, whatever it is. I can't remember. I don't ever take my controllers off the switch anyways. So it's gonna be a real flat button. And so I need to create like a little socket essentially for this thing to reside in. And it's gonna be about halfway way up this thing. So somewhere right about there is about the right size. Okay. And it's gonna kind of sit right there. Okay. So the button I think is like a little plastic piece or rubbery piece. And so what I want to do is put in a multi-cut right here. Then I'm going to do an edge bevel and add a couple of segments. Okay. So now when I hit 3, you'll see it actually smooths out really nicely right there. One thing is on the back side of that button is it kind of collapses, has a little butt on it. So I'm going to go ahead and take another multi-cut and put a reinforcement loop right here. Okay, so now we got a nice little button. All right. So they need to create a little indentation here. And so I think what I'm going to do, create a multi-cut right there, just to kind of block off this area. And then what I want to do is I'm going to take this face, I'm going to extrude it. Kind of bring it into about the size of that. There, I'm just going to scale it up. Then we'll hit, let's do it this way. I want to do the old shift when you're doing multi-cut. It actually would give you like a percentage. So you can actually snap it to like, like every 10%. So I'm gonna do roughly about 0.5% or 50%. Right there and right there. So that's gonna give us, instead of one face, it's gonna give us 4 faces. But now I can take these vertexes and make it slightly rounder looking hole. So something like that. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna do Control E. I hit W, go in, go back. And then you can do extrude again, and then just kind of push it back. We'll say somewhere around here. Basically, I'm making a little cavity. So I'm making that little dip, and now I'm making a cavity for the button to sit in. So kind of like that. Now, if we hit 3, you'll see it kind of like rounds out. But we need to make this little dip right here have a little bit of a sharper edge. I'm actually going to just kind of move this out, kind of scale it out just a little bit more. And then I'm going to go ahead and bevel it, but it's going to be a real small bevel. And so then when I hit 3, you'll see it kind of like sharpens it up a little bit more. And then I'm going to scale that in. Just kind of fit it a little bit more into there. Then I'm going to bevel this one, and you'll see here, once we bevel that, it actually feels a little bit more like that little dip that they built into it. So something like that. A little edge loop right here, and that'll kind of reinforce this side as well. And I think that'll work. Okay. So we have these little, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 player number indicators. And so these are just little lights. These are going to be tiny little divots. And let's take a look and see how we can put these in here. So let's do it this way. I'm going to show you guys ballooning. This will be your introduction to ballooning, or maybe not your introduction, but should be to give you some idea. All right, so I'm going to go and take some right here, just kind of roughly stick it on top, and then not see for the life of me. Let's turn that off. There we go. Okay, so right about here. Okay, so somewhere right about that size. This is kind of what we're looking at. And ballooning is going to be the act of us cutting away or adding geometry to a mesh by using another mesh as a modifier. And in order for us to do that, I want to actually simplify this object a little bit. Right now, it's got 20 faces going around the perimeter of this circle. And I just kind of want to not have that. So I'm going to have to clean this up, and I don't really want to have that many. So let's go to subdivision axes. I'm going to take this down to 6. 6 will still smooth into a round circle. And if you want to go a little bit more, you can go with 8. 8 will also still round as it looks a little more circular. Either one of those is fine. So I'm going to hit Control D, duplicate, duplicate, and duplicate. Okay. And so what happens is we will take I'm going to kind of section off each one of these just a little bit. And the reason why is going to make it just a little bit easier for us to do the cleanup on the mesh. I think that'll be, I think this will be fine. Okay. So it's going to allow us to kind of clean up each one of these holes that we're going to be creating. So I'm going to take the original part. By the way, let's just go ahead and save this real quick. SwitchCon. All right. Take this part, take the cutter or the modifier. I'm going to go under mesh bleed. You'll see we have options for union, difference, and intersection. If we do union, it's going to take both of these pieces and it's going to make them one piece. It's actually going to delete the intersecting geometry. So that's intersecting. It's going to make it just one geometry. Problem with this is it creates n-gons. It's like that's a face, and then this is a face. So we'd have to like clean that up. Let's back up. And instead of doing union, let's do difference. And so difference will go through and actually cut the geometry from here where it intersects and just kind of creates a cavity. So I actually kind of like that quite a bit. We're still going to have to clean this up, by the way. So it's not, we're not going to get out of it. Do this one, this one. There we go. Create your original geometry modifier and then go through and do it again. Okay. This is actually active geometry. Each one of these booleans leaves a lot of history. I would heavily suggest after you do a boolean, go into edit, delete all by type and history, just to make things a little bit easier for you. Okay, so let's go and clean this stuff up. So this is going to be using target weld tool. So that's going to be merge vertices, target weld. You can go under mesh tools. Is it mesh tools or edit mesh? It's under mesh tools. Target weld's right there. And so what I like about this is I can basically grab a vertex and drag it onto its target. I think that's pretty useful. I'm going to be grabbing the edge here and dragging it to the circle. Reason why is because I want to maintain the circularity of this shape that we just did bleed into here. Otherwise, it would kind of throw it off and wouldn't be perfect. So the goal here is, think of it as a game, is we are essentially going to be creating quads out of these faces here. And so we'll just have to do that multiple times. So one option, so one thing we could do is start off with the vertical edges. And so let's add in some vertical edges here, 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 here. And I'm going to go and join up this one right there. And so we're kind of splitting this. And so the idea is it's almost just, again, like a game. We want to kind of like cut down on the number of edges or number of vertexes we have for each one of these faces from what looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically 12 to 6 each. Do the same thing on top. And I might be thinking, hey, could I just model this straight out of geometry without using bleeds? And 100% yes, you could. It kind of depends on which direction you feel more comfortable with. I think ballooning is nice and fast, but you do have to have that responsibility of cleaning up the geometry afterwards. And you do get that more perfected shape that you're looking for. But just modeling it straight by hand is perfectly fine too. Not to say you can't have the same level of success, but you certainly could. Right. That. So it looks like we got quad, quad, quad. So we're just getting quads all around. Kind of looks a bit like a spider, um, spider web. So you have to make sure if you're doing the bling or cleaning up, that is something I'll be looking at when I'm grading. But that works pretty well. All right, so if we smooth it, kind of falls apart. Not good. Again, we want to model to make smoothing. We want the finished model to look as good here as it would as if we smoothed it. So what that means is we'll need to add in some reinforcement edges and bevels, try to make this look nicer. Okay, so something like that. And then I'm just going to bevel that. Bring that fraction in, add an extra segment. And now on hit 3. Perfect. A little bit of a weirdness happening right here. I don't like that. So usually when that happens, there's something that's not connected properly. So I'll see. Go over to, let's see, mesh. Now edit mesh, bridge. So here, that looks a little better. Okay, so that's what I'm looking for. Okay, so we got a little piece here that's going to go out. So what we could do is, let's see where that piece actually starts. It's pretty much pretty close. So let's see, we can maybe grab these faces here. I want to extrude them. Scale. Try to grab any extra faces. A little scale here. Want to flatten that edge. Flatten that edge. Kind of squaring everything up. like there's a little divot right here. So I think I'm going to add that in. All right, so this piece will sit right there. And then we're going to have a little multi-cut. I think it's probably a divot on the other side as well. So let's do this piece and this piece. And we're going to do a little extrusion, scale that in, extrusion, scale that in. Then we'll just kind of like bring that in a little bit right there. So this, I guess this is where it kind of like locks in. Then extrude in again. Something kind of like that. Got this piece and that piece. And then we'll do a multi-cut. I'm just going to kind of support that edge right there. You know what? Let me go back to your multi-cut, support that edge. Okay. Let's do a little bevel right there. Ooh, that went out the wrong direction. Okay. Bring that fraction up. Okay, there we go. That looks good up there too. See, it's kind of like again a little concave. There, it's gonna be pretty sharp. Here, so pretty sharp. Okay, so we have 3. You see that actually looks pretty decent. Now, we do need to reinforce some of these edges in here. So we're kind of getting into the area where like we need to reinforce this, but we're just adding extra edges, and we're running into the same issue here. Like these extra edges here that are like reinforcing all of this serve no purpose here. So this kind of gets to the problem of like building everything in one piece. So I think it might be a good idea for us to go ahead and just kind of like extract out this mesh and maybe clean it up a little bit to lower that face count, because it really serves no purpose to have all of those edges. Conversely, the other option would be we could go in and kind of clean up some of the geometry, but I think maybe kind of breaking this up might end up being a little bit of a better choice. So what I want to do, and I'll show you how to do that, is I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of like grab all those faces. From here to here. Just make sure we got everything. I don't want any of these faces on this side. I'm going to go under mesh extract, edit mesh extract. Where is it? Right here. And that's going to create this as a separate shell. Center that divot. See, something like that. And then this piece here has a little extra. All right, so we can kind of close this up. Um, so how can we close this up? We could do, I could just do a fill hole. That leaves us a huge end-gon, but we can then go through a multi-cut. Let's do a multi-cut. Why are we not doing a multi-cut? Okay, that's kind of weird. Let's try this. Okay, so if that doesn't work, there's something it's not recognizing. We can also do append to polygon. Let's see. Actually, you know what? One option. Here's an option. Let me show you this. Okay, so I'm going to grab basically this edge up here. This hopefully will make it a little bit faster for us. I'm going to grab this edge down here. Okay, so we got these two. Let's see if we can do a bridge. So mesh tools, edit mesh. Uh, okay, well, that doesn't work. Let's try this again. I'm going to extrude. I'm just going to scale them together. Ooh. A little bit of an issue right there. Okay, so let's back up. There's something going on here. So I have like a little bit of an extra edge or face coming out. Okay, there we go. Apparently, I think I did an extrusion. I didn't realize it. So let's grab. Okay, I think we're okay there. Maybe that was the problem I was having. So I did an extrusion. I didn't realize it. I didn't do anything with the extrusion. And so it just kind of sat on there. And that's what we call like a manifold edge. Basically a face with like zero space or zero area because it's sitting on top of its other edge. All right, so let's go back to bridge. Bingo. Hell yeah. Bridge straight across. Now we just got to deal with this area right here. Do a multi-cut. And then I can do a, what was that tool? Target weld. Target weld. And target weld. Excellent. Push that back in a little bit. Extrude. I'm gonna bevel this. So bevel that. Cool. All right, so again, we have this piece right here. And so part of the point of this is we wanted to simplify this geometry. We don't need any of this. So I'm going to delete it. So when you delete edges, you want to do Control, Delete, or if you go to Mac, it's going to be Command, Delete. And that'll get rid of the vertexes as well. But hit just delete, it looks like it's gone. Look at that. We have segmentation right here on this edge. And if I go to vertexes, all these extra vertexes here. Do not just hit delete. You need to do Command Delete or Control Delete. I'm just getting rid of these extra edges that don't do anything for us on this model. Delete. See, basically just it brings our poly count down on this thing quite dramatically. All right, someone to, yeah, so we should be able to just kind of go in and do a fill hole command. Do a multi-cut from here to here. Then we'll do another multi-cut from here to here. Okay, so that'll make things a little bit easier for us. And then we need to reinforce these edges. Extrude very slightly. Multi-cut here. Multi-cut here. There. You know what? Let's deal with that in a second. Let's do here. Okay, nice and square. That squares off pretty nicely right there too. All right, cool. Just weirdly right here. So this should be a fairly let's see, it's kind of rounding off a little bit for me. So I'm going to do extra here. Kind of squares that up a little bit. We can do one here and here. So yeah, that looks a little bit better. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and mount this over. So that kind of fits in right there. And then just gonna turn this on. Button. Move that over. But, all right, that's not too bad. That's looking pretty good. All right, going to save it. All right. So we got a few more buttons to do. I think I'm just gonna do the face buttons, and then we have our triggers. Yeah, okay, yeah, so we got a little bit more. All right, so let's do these buttons right here. So hopefully you guys are getting an idea of just kind of like how much time and effort a lot of this can go into to make something actually look good rather than just okay. And I really want you guys to pay attention to, trying to make this look accurate. Um, I know it can, kind of just maybe feel like you're strapped for time, but really give yourself, a good like 6 or 7 hours to work on this thing. And this is hopefully, you guys are taking a summer class or online class, you're not taking too many others, but you have the time to really work on this. Segment that. Okay. So that kind of rounds off there, but you notice it kind of domes up a little bit more. And the topology here doesn't really allow me to kind of like just pull that up. What I want to do a chamfer vertex is I want to actually quad this off. And so that um, when this thing actually smooths, or when I can actually pull up the face a little bit, it will actually like round off a little bit and look a little bit nicer. So I'm just going to take like that big uh, N-gon. I'm just going to kind of use it to my advantage here. and kind of just scale it up. And I'm going to use that to build this kind of like dome. And it's going to be kind of a dome that just kind of like curls over here. It's not going to be super high or anything, but it's going to be enough for me to work with. Okay, so I'm going to get to a point where I do need to go ahead and quad this off. I'm going to go grab multi-cut. And general point is I will do across and then vertical first or second. And then I will go across and kind of quad everything else off as I can. So I'll grab that, this. So kind of we get the 4 quadrants. And then I'm gonna also make it symmetrical. So if I do a line here, I'm gonna do another line right here. I'll do another one over here. Another one up here. So it's kind of like weaving a little bit, like basket weaving. I can do another one going down over here, and then another one here. Okay, so that'll leave us with essentially quadded off top. A nice advantage of that is when you smooth it, it actually smooths off pretty nicely. So I do like that. Okay, so I do think it domes up just a little bit more than kind of what I'm wanting. I'm gonna grab, let's say, these faces here. I'm gonna hit B as in boy, and then this is turning on my soft select, and then hold down B and middle mouse drag left and right, and I can make the brush a little bit different size or the fall off a little bit different size. So I'm just gonna use it to kind of like softly just kind of bring this down. Hit 3. That's pretty good. Now, in terms of like the printing on these buttons, um, I'm not going to do it as more of a texturing thing. You could do a bleed cut in for the arrows if you were so inclined. That might be kind of interesting to do. I think honestly, for me, that's more of a texturing piece that I could do more easily in something like Substance Painter than modeling and would be worth more in terms of like the amount of texturing or amount of polyfaces I'd be adding by doing this. So I'm gonna do 1, 2, 3, and then okay. So we got 4 buttons right there. So I'm gonna do a Boolean cut for these. So I'm gonna go ahead and put in a cut up here, and yeah, okay, let's just go into it. So I think these are a little too high poly to actually kind of do what I need to do. That's gonna be a lot more cleanup than really what I'm wanting to work with. And the reason why I do want to do a Boolean cut is because if you look at the buttons, there is a slight shadow, or we see the buttons actually going into the body of the controller. So we do need to kind of replicate that. Same reason why we did the ones here and here, just adds a higher level of realness to the model. So let's go and make some proxies for this piece. So I'm just going to go to this, and we'll bring down let's do it to 8. I make sure these are nice and lined up. So that's why I'm kind of deleting them and like dragging down the essentially the sibling is what I'm thinking of it as. All right, so I'm gonna bring those down. Or how deep do they go? Okay. All right, I'm gonna take the buttons. So I'm gonna kind of put them on their own little group item. All right, we'll take original piece, cutter, mesh, boolean, difference. Then just shift select and hit G, shift select and hit G, shift select and hit G. Okay, a little extra one, I guess. All right, let's clean up. So something we might consider doing is getting rid of some of these extra. Well, let's start cleaning up first and see what happens. So let's do a target weld. Target weld. I'm just gonna kind of put these all together. That up, that up. Okay. Right there. Here. This one to here. Okay. And then I got some extras in here. I don't know if I'm going to need this one or not, but I'm just going to go and delete it because I don't think I'm going to need it. Oh, there. Okay. There. I was looking for anywhere I can kind of preemptively clean up right in this area. Okay. All right. So first and foremost, I'm going to do a multi-cut from here to here to bring these two together. Oh, there we go. I can do these. Idea. I'm going to bring that over and just kind of, just make that come together a little bit more. Could do a, these are so close. I could do a multi-cut from here to here. Although I kind of almost want to do, let's see. I'll start fiddling with this and see what we got. Okay, so I'm gonna put that one there. I'm probably gonna be doing this a few different ways. There, here, here. I think I can just kind of wrap this one around. Let's do this here. That over there. End up with some tries, but I'd rather have some tries than dons. Now you may have a thought to go, well, this is 1, 2, 3, and I can do a fourth here. Technically that is a quad, however, you don't want to do a quad right there, because that's going to give us an obtuse angle. And that's not a good idea for this one right here. So we're not going to do that. We could do up here. Why are we having an issue right there? Let's try this. I'm going to do a multi-cut here, over to here, here. I'm going to probably straighten this all up. there. There. Yeah, this face is acting really funky. Let's see if I can try that again. So this is, again, part of the challenge of working with Booleans is you're going to get sometimes unexpected results. I don't necessarily want that, but I just got to go through and just clean it up. It's having a little bit of an issue. So it looks like this face here kind of like cut in. So really what I need to do is delete that. And then what I'm going to try to do is maybe just do like an append to poly. See if we can do a couple of these. Across. And we'll see what we got. So I can maybe do one edge, two edge, bridge. Bridge, bridge, bridge. Says right here, bridge. And then do a bridge right through there. It's going to put a couple of tries, but that should give us. So that one right there is going to be tricky. Okay. So a couple of things. Let's bring this over so this doesn't create an obtuse angle. And then right here, we still got these two. And then I kind of wonder if I can like angle this over, go over here, go up to there. And so that'll create two quads. And then I still have a quad here, but then I can go in and do another quad right there. So it's a little janky, but you get the idea. And I'm not super happy with like some of this kind of coming down. It's not very clean. So let's try to clean this up a little bit more. Let's do, I'm just gonna do delete, not control delete. And then I'm gonna do another delete there. I think I would rather have some of these kind of going from here to here, from there to there. That would create a little bit of a better face there. I'm kind of just figuring this out as I'm going. So I can delete these two because that's kind of creating a weirdly stretched face. And then I could do hmm, challenge. Tell you what, let's try another approach. This isn't super clean the way I'm wanting it to be. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna rebuild. This is okay. You know, if you take a few different swipes at this to try to like figure out what you want to do, that's perfectly fine. So we know we need to get essentially these holes to fill into this space. That's it's gonna be complicated. All right, so we're gonna do what's the simplest way to like bridge cross stuff. So if we do here, like all four of these, we do an extrusion. And that's gonna give us like a little face loop around each one to kind of work with. Okay, that's our basic premise. So then I could take this guy and target weld him up to here. Target him, weld him up to there. And then see if we can do right here, bridge. Bridge, bridge. I'm just trying to keep this as clean as I can. That's the goal of this project. And it's just getting really messy and just kind of awkward. So I'm already liking this a little bit better. There to there. Yeah, that looks a whole lot better. All right, so then we can do a fill holes. That gives us a quad right here. And then we can do vertex, target weld down into there. Weld that one to there, that one to there. Okay. Extra one right there. Okay, so I think this simplifies the project or problem a little bit more. And so now I can probably just go and say, hey, I want to do let's do a multi-cut, and that'll go straight across for there, and then also for here. So that's kind of keeping it nice and symmetrical for us. There, that one to there. So I'm just dropping in these edges, so it's easier for me to attach and rebuild this surface in here. Okay, so you see how we're kind of just simplifying this whole thing. And let's see, should be able to go and just do a fill hole at this point, and then maybe just quad it off. So we'll do fill hole, and I'm gonna do quad up here, quad up there. This is done. This needs a little something extra. This is gonna be done. Well, that one's gonna need a little something extra too. So we have two end guns left. So we are, ooh, this is a lot better. I mean, look at the topology of this, and then just rewind a few minutes and look at the other one. This is way, way nicer. Okay, so how do we take care of this? If we have two opposing n-gons, ideally, we should be able to get them to kind of go into each other. Now, we have a obstacle in our way, which is going to be the buttonhole. So what I'd like to do is see if I can run an edge loop. So I'm just going to straighten this up. I want to see if I run an edge loop from here over, around, and back over to here, just to kind of loop them into each other. Yeah, that just straighten that up a little bit. Okay. Let's do multi-cut. Here, here. Okay. And then we'll take this, pop that down into here. So that just created essentially a few extra quads where we didn't have any before. So I'd say that works. Okay, so we need to reinforce some of these edges. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and put in bevel. Let's see. Seem to be working. Is there something wrong here? Let's back up. 3. Okay, I got a little split right here. That's the reason why it's not beveling properly. Okay. So where am I getting this problem here? Not super sure, but let's see if we can do a edit mesh merge. Edit mesh merge at 3. Okay, that looks good now. Okay. And bevel. Good. Cool. There it is. All right, hit 3. Oh, look at those. Those are pretty. Oh, so we missed one right there. G. Extra segment. Bring that down. Okay. That looks really nice. I'm pretty happy with that. And the buttons go in there. Very shrink that down just a hair. So we kind of get that little bit of shadowing in there, which is great. Okay. All right. Let's do the joystick. Save that. Grab another cylinder and here. All right, so I'm gonna go and bevel these edges here. Gonna bring in that fraction. It's gonna be a much rounder object. And then the vertex right there, that vertex right here. And we're gonna do a chamfer vertex again. And I'm gonna do this for 2 different reasons. This one right here is gonna be the stalk. So I'm gonna scale it out. And you'll see it kind of like comes in right there. bring it in. And then I'm just gonna actually bring it down. I'm gonna build out that kind of spherical shape. Conversely, you could take a sphere and combine them and then join them together. That would also be a pretty good option as well. But this will work too. Okay, so kind of something that. A little bit. Yeah, it feels much more sphere-like. And then just multi-cut. Again, multi-cutting across, kind of like basket weaving, just going across and just plotting off everything, making sure everything is nice and even. So just like that. Okay. Underside's not as important, but we want to make sure it is kind of nice looking. And then up here, we're going to have this little edge right there. And I'm going to bevel that. I'm going to bring that fraction in. And here's why. I'm going to dip this in just like that. And then same thing what we did before. I'm going to bring this out like that. And then I'm going to do multi-cut, boom, boom, boom. Just throw in 3. So just like that. And I'm just going to bring that in a little bit more. And we'll quad this one off as well. So do that here. That one here. And then right through here, that kind of dimples in or kind of bulges in. So I'll bring that in a little bit up there as well. And then right through here, there's going to be, see, we hit 3, it kind of doesn't, it's not sharp as I'd like for it to be. So I'm going to go in to do a little bevel, tiny little bevel. You'll see it kind of just reinforces that edge right there. So that would be the thumbstick, although I'd say it's probably a little too fat, but that. And then take this, kind of just scale that in just a hair. Okay. There we go. I think it's more accurate. Okay. All right. Another little one right here. Going to reinforce this. That in. Okay. Cool. All right. There is a little divot right here on the edge. And so what I want to do, I want to put that in, but I don't want to bevel all of this. I'm going to try to make this as localized. Okay, so I'm going to grab these, and then I'm going to go in and do a bevel fraction. So it actually did a good job right here. Split these. That's going to give us an end gun right there. So what we want to do, a multi-cut right here and here. Yeah, I'll plot that off. That one. So that's just going to take care of that end gun that we're going to run into. Here, right here, right here. I need one more. Yeah. All right, so I got the topology set up for that divot. And then what I want to do is I want to take these faces. Okay, so I got those little faces just selected. Extrude. Just shrink that extrusion a little bit. Push it in a little bit more. Okay, so that's going to create that shape. Maybe at 3, raise that divot. All right. I'll grab that ball. Just kind of get up a little bit more, because I don't think it's a little too tall. All right, let's do this one down. Okay. So right in here, we're going to have a little area um, for the joystick to sit. So it's going to be similar to what we did for that button. So let's do, and kind of make this a little more circular. So we're going to bring this out, that out, that out, this out. How loud is that? Okay. Okay. All right, let's just go and build this, see how it looks. All right, so I'm going to take this, do Control E, extrude down, scale it in, Control E, down, and then Control E again, and then down. So the idea is it will rest in there. Gonna go down there. Goes down a little bit more. I feel like this needs to really sit down just a little bit lower. All right, so we'll take multi-cut here, do an extrusion, or not extrusion, add a little extra edge loop there. Okay, something like that. So reinforcement. And then this right here, I'm going to, this edge loop here, I'm going to go ahead and scale that out and down. So that's just going to give us a little bit of a cup right there. See that? So if I drop that to the point there, should be able to move that thing around. All right, cool. Save it again. Okay. We do need to put the, just realize we need to put the little shoulder buttons right here. So let's add, make them, kind of make them a little bit thin. Sit right there. Maybe kind of, it's a little bit wide. Okay, so extrude these out, scale them down, extrude it out. Bring them in. Reinforcement loop here, reinforcement loop there. Okay, do extrusion again. Actually, switch that back over to scale. I don't like the way the extrusion tool works with the scaling. It just gets kind of weird. So bring that out. So what I'm basically just beveling this off, but I have a little more control over it. Okay. And scale it in. Kind of looking at the differences in the spacing between this edge and this edge versus this side. And that's, I'm just trying to make sure it's like pretty even. Okay, so something like that. So we hit 3, I think that's kind of what we're sitting at. So I'm just gonna add a little extra edge here and here. So we hit 3, so it kind of retains that a little bit better. And again, you could do sculpted R2, L2, or whatever. But again, I'm not going to worry about that right now. Make these slightly smaller. All right, so I'm going to go and extrude. For these down to about here and about there. Extrude them in. So not too far, just enough to get the buttons in. Kind of just take this cavity and just kind of like form fit it to the button. So grab those corners together. Reset the button so it fits in there a little bit better. Okay. Oh, you know what? I'm going to finish up this one. And that's pretty much the same job for the other one. Okay. Nope, not that one. Let's do faces. There we go. This face and this face. Up. Grab these two faces, move that down. Kind of controlling the shape a lot, which is doing like the faces on the side. Something kind of like that. Okay, so let's do a multi-cut around here. Do a little bevel right there. You'll see that now we got a nicely fitted socket for the button. Okay, that same approach would be, again, applied over here as well. Okay, let's see, what are some other unique things that's useful? Because honestly, a lot of this is just kind of like making buttons and stuff like that. So, maybe some, well, honestly, I think that's really kind of about it. 'Cause really, it's just going to be like this button, this trigger button, little shoulder button here, which again is going to be the same way as doing what we've already done. Although I might, you know what, let's do the little shoulder button right here. That's kind of unique. All right. So this one kind of wraps around the edge a little bit. And so what we could do, let's do we could, well, there's a couple of options here. We could do it like a duplication might actually work really well. So maybe we'll do let's see, let's do a delete all by type history. Okay. All right, I'm gonna duplicate it. Duplicate the object. And then what I'm gonna do essentially is just go in and let's see, where does that button start? Somewhere right about here. And then it wraps around to right about here. Yeah, something like that. So I'm just going to take that and extrude it, or extract it, I should say. So we'll do mesh, edit mesh, extract. And then the rest of this, I can kind of just delete. So I have this little piece right here. And then if I extrude it, that gives me a geometry that I can work with as like that button piece. I can again do some, looks like it's pretty well rounded. So I could take that and bevel, and then add some segments. That'll round that off for us. Now that is going to create some ingoning problems. Actually, you know what? Here's a fun tip. Okay. So we don't duplicate our work twice. If we do the beveling here, then I can just quad this off and I don't have to do it 4 times. I can just do it twice. Yeah. So I got that. So I have this right here. I'll extrude it. Pop it out like that again. So we get that shape again. And now that same topology has been popped over. Now I notice that this is black. Reason why is we're looking at the negative normal side of the face. So we kind of turned it inside out. Let's go to mesh reverse, and that flips it back over. And then I'm gonna do, let's see, let's do a little reinforcement loop there. I do need to bevel this side a little bit. So let's do a beveling edge. Let's add a little extra segment to that. Okay. And then the idea is we could just use this, whoops, could use this as a cutter for the other piece. So like that one right there. So we'll just use it to kind of like cut back in a little bit more. So let's do mesh, edit mesh, modify, center pivot. There we go. This is kind of like extruding a little bit more than it probably should. I'm gonna scale it in. Does need to be a little bit thinner. So something like that. Just kind of cutting into the mesh just a little bit. But the nice thing is that it should kind of line up generally with the topology quite well, except for these ends right here. Those are going to be a little tricky. So I'm going to go ahead and create a duplicate of that button. Then I'm going to go back into here and do edit mesh, no mesh, Boolean difference, and that'll create the socket right there. So we got that right there. Okay, so we do need to clean that up. So we can do target weld. This is kind of pulling a little bit weirdly over here. Just gonna over just a hair. Oh, okay. How much is adjusting some of these faces around here. So try to get those curves in. Okay. All right, so that's pretty good. So we do need to kind of take care of like this area here. All right, let's do a multi-cut. I'm gonna do one here, and that should line up with some of these. See, that's not gonna line up very well. So may have to get creative with this. But I think what I want to do, yeah, let's just go in. All right, let's just go and start kind of putting it together. All right, so we'll take this one, this to this one. All right, go on the other side. Try to have those continuing edge loops going around as much as possible. This one going to the corner. Oh, sorry, here is going to go to the corner. Out right here. Now we're also may end up having to do just a bunch of tries because otherwise it's going to create some issues. So, okay, we'll see where we can put in a try. Okay, so a couple of options here. We do have these tries right there. We could just run a extra edge here, and that would turn these two tries into quads, which should be kind of cool. And we could kind of scale that down just a little bit. So you'll see it would end up being a little quad. Then same thing here. Could run this right across. Okay, so that would help out right there. And then this interior piece, we would want to go ahead and do a small bevel. Just like that. And then especially around this edge, we're going to do another bevel. Yeah, I'm going to add some segmentation to it. So there we go. Turn on that button, see it fits right in there. Maybe shrink it down just a hair. Right here we could do, maybe just kind of support that edge, like curving a little bit. Could maybe do bevel right there. Something kind of like that. But again, just to kind of like help that curve out a little bit more. But otherwise, I think it looks good. Okay, so yeah, so other details that could be added to this thing, I'm gonna just go ahead and just kind of stop. I think I got as much. I think you guys are gonna need the point of kind of where we're going with this. Is we want to try to make this thing look as functional as possible. Um, so for us, that's going to be adding in like places for the buttons to work, so we could animate, say like the button kind of like moving in or not, or someone actually hitting these little buttons, or maybe like working the joystick, stuff like that. That's what we're looking for. It doesn't have to be 100% functional, like you don't need to like model the internals or anything, but it should be. I look at it, I should be able to tell them automatically what in the world this is. So that's the goal here. Um, as many details as you can put into this model, because that's what we're looking for. So specifically, if I was, grading this, I'd point out, I'd say, we have these little buttons here, this little button here and here that need to be added on. The trigger needs to be added on, and there are going to be the lock and screw holes with little screws inside, and those would be added on also. Um, yeah, so those would be the extra bits that I would suggest adding on to the model. Keep an eye on your topology. When we run into n-gons, we go in and we try to fix the n-gons. When we create recesses, we try to strengthen the edges and manipulate the surface to create what we're trying to replicate as closely as we can. We're using stuff like beveling and extruding and insert edge loops and quadrangulating n-gons into a bunch of quads. So we're trying to do this as much as possible. Okay, so let's say we're done and we're ready to go and turn this file in. So I'm going to go and save it. And what I want you to do is go under Edit, delete all by type, History. I want you to grab your model for me. And you're going to go under Modify, Freeze Transformations. So those little transformations are going to be zeroed out. And then you're going to go under each one of your pieces and say, hey, I want this to be thumb stick. Call that the casing. I'm going to do, let's see, button 1 or up, down, left, right, whatever. So you would name all 4 buttons. You would do, like say shoulder left. You would do your trigger. You would name all of your stuff on here. Whatever this is called. Oh, L2. R2. What would this be? Bluetooth join button, something like that. This would be the rail. This would be the rail track. And so the idea is that when you look at your outliner, you have everything kind of just put into here in one piece. So that's sitting in a group. So I'm going to hit Shift P, delete that group. Grab all my parts. Hit G. I'm going to group them together and call it Joy-Con left. And then that's what you're going to turn this into me. Okay, so all of your meshes are going to be named. Maybe it's just calls like D-pad up or something. I don't know, D-pad L. There we go. D-pad D for D-pad down. D-pad up. D-pad R. Okay, so I think that should do everything then. All right, so everything's in here. Again, we're gonna make sure freeze transformations, delete it all by type history, and then that's your file. So you're gonna save it. Okay. So how do we save these things? So you're gonna save them with your name, Bryson _ John _ 3344 prop, and then you can name it whatever you want, but I need to know your name, the class, and the project, which this one's the prop project. And then you'll name it like this one's SwitchCon. So we'll just go with that. And this is what you'll turn into me. Okay. And I think that's it.